Okay, believe it or not, we are back. I don't know why. Tech Talk Taco Tuesday episode number. You think I would have done the math and figured it out? I want to say it's like 215, but we'll get to that. The show that talks about motorcycle and motorcycle related products, you can't make it go away, is what I always say. I could make it go away. Tonight we have a big show. We wouldn't do the show if we didn't have a big show, but it might be a short show because we could run out of things to talk about. We have a special guest today. He was kind enough to flush the toilet just as I pushed start on the thing. He was a little busy. Knew he was going to have to sit down for what could be a painful talk.
Very.
Trevor Hunter, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you should be asking me why.
That's another question.
So it's just two dudes, shitting around talking about dirt bikes, motorcycles, motorcycle-related products, answering your tech questions if you have them. So we have our little chat thing up on the screen that you can see. If you're on any of the platforms, you can usually type in as long as this technology works for us. You can, give us your message. We can answer your questions, and then we can talk about all the other things. Of course, the show would not be possible without the help of some sponsors that all need to renew their contracts because we don't really have much going on right now. Our ad department, let me look over. Geez, empty. Not a person sitting over there. But really, Yamaha's been a big supporter, helper of Dirt Bike Test. They're going to help you go to the Honda intro.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
They're gonna help us get a Triumph.
Yep.
Yep. They're going to. They've been making me really happy because lately I've been riding my Tenere up in the Pacific Northwest. That was a lot of fun. I rode my WR450 along the edge of these gnarly cliffs on some trails we found up there. Super good times doing that. And so, Trevor, and how come you didn't take an XT250 on the Big Bear dual sport ride?
That was my original plan the whole time, and I just, plain and simple, I dropped the ball and didn't ask Yamaha, or didn't remind Yamaha, I guess, until too late. And they couldn't get one ready in time, so that'll be for next year, I think.
Your revenge ride.
Yeah, we're going to the top 10. We're just going for the win. Top 10.
Top 10. Is that how you got invited to the B group of the Honda intro? Is that like because did you ride the Honda or did you ride the Kawasaki?
No, I rode the Honda.
You rode the Honda,
yep.
And they were so impressed with your performance, making the top 10 at a dual sport ride,
yep.
that they said, "Hey, why don't you come and ride our Honda 450?" And this is for all the people out there that are wondering how you can get to be an esteemed motorcycle journalist. You got to prove yourself
at a dual sport ride.
Right.
No,
so
I think now that Jet Lawrence is hurt, after that dual sport ride, I might be in contention for Jet's fill-in ride.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Right? Yeah, this would be the tryout because you are going to Ironman Raceway.
Yep.
They do have national there. They're gonna be probably checking your lap times.
Yep.
Against all the other YouTube influencers that they're bringing in that are also trying out for Jet's ride.
Yes. Should be hotly contested.
This is how it works here in the moto media world these days. Well, I mean, I got my factory Honda ride in Baja after having a amazing performance on an XR100 in the Baja 500. So, the stepping stones.
That was one of the, actually, as part of some of the talk at Big Bear was you and Johnny Campbell should both get some XR100s up there next year and go for it.
CRF 150Ls?
I think it's XR150.
XR150, they call it.
Yeah.
God, every time you just get used to calling something not what it's supposed to be called, then they change it back to the other thing.
Yep.
XR 150. I would probably be pretty hard to beat on that thing. Overall, would definitely be in sight.
I would for you. I just put some flex bars on, and I think you got it. Flex bars are highly recommended for that ride. Even though
Really,
my wrists were dying the last 30 miles. There's one
just
single thing I think I would change. I would put flex bars on whatever bike I ride. If I
because
yeah.
the washboards
Um,
or you needed the flex after you bottomed the fork.
both. All the way around.
Okay, so really quick, let's kind of talk about what you did. So you took a box or nearly box stock, because if you're really curious about this, if you want to get the lowdown, and we're gonna get to the questions here real quick. Dirt Bike has a question. We'll get to his in a second. So tell everybody what you did.
We took near box stock entry level 300cc 4-stroke entry level dual sport bikes, the CR300L and the KLX 300, and we put tires on, knobby tires, mooses, and a skid plate, and the GPS, and we went and did the Big Bear run up in Big Bear, California. It's like 200 miles. I think they say it's kind of one of, if not the toughest organized dual sport ride, AMA dual sport ride in the country. And we did all 200 miles of it on these near stock 300 entry level dual sport bikes.
I liked when you reached out into the like the SoCal dual sport riders.
Yes.
Just as Trevor Hunter, who like those guys don't really follow racing.
No.
Although you'd be surprised when you're out on the course with them.
I thought we were racing it.
Yeah. So they were warning you of all the things you should do.
Like, don't do it. A lot of don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah. But I guess you were there to kind of point out it's more about it's all about the bike, right?
I think that's what we proved is, you have to have the bike or else you just cannot make that ride.
Yeah, a motorcycle in general. So we got some questions. Chris Real, how far did the bikes go on a stock take on fuel? I think you should answer that. Air filter plugged and air filter open.
I think the tanks are like 2 or 2.1 gallons each on both the bikes. We did the last half of the ride was like 90 miles, and we both did that without refueling. The KLX was on fumes, like I couldn't have gone much further, and then the Honda used 1.7 gallons of gas in that 90 miles.
So Dirt Bike wants to know, it's been a while. Quick question. Racing Baja. Do you see any issue with running a non-O-ring chain in the 400? And I suspect he's talking about racing the Baja 400. And so I would ask, why would you want to do that first?
I agree.
But no. If it's a new chain, I don't see. I mean, you're only going 400 miles. I mean, chains should go thousands of miles, and O-ring or not, I don't think there's a difference. I mean, some of the O-ring chains tend to be a little bit beefier just because they're expected to go a little bit longer, but I don't see any issue on that. I mean, if you think about the stress a chain gets, like probably hitting hoops is probably one of the worst things you can do to a chain, and you're going to be hitting a lot of those, and they race motocross with non-O-ring chains, so put a good chain on it and call it good.
I'd say probably break it in too before the start, so you're not having to adjust it, or it's not loosening a lot.
Yeah, I always tell people to put like 250 miles, 400 miles on their bike, in your full race trim spec stuff, just so you know that it can. I mean, you should have done the race distance like in a simulation at some point or another if you're really serious about doing it, but know your stuff. Let's see, Marco, did you tell them that you knew him? Do you know Marco?
I know the name. I don't know if I've met him in person. No.
Know Marco? Uh-oh.
Maybe.
Uh-oh.
I don't know.
Yeah. Marco, you're gonna have to call in. Maybe you'll be our second guest on the show. I figure out how to get you this link. He says those Jeep trails are tough, but on a Honda, it's no problem. And Jerry Grabo says it's the Indian, not the Arrow. I liked the video that you posted, Trevor, of just riding through town. And obviously, it was early in the morning by the lights, and guys passing you in the dirt on the right,
Yes.
and over the double yellow in the 40-mile-an-hour zone. And I know you were going wide open just to go 40 miles an hour.
Yeah, because we didn't have an exhaust or ECU or reeds out of the air. We didn't have any of that. So yeah, you have to just wide open.
Right on. Hey, people say love to see me back, Jimmy. Thank you, Flying Brian. It's nice to be back. Before I get to the slams on me in the comments, I would like to tell you it's really important now more than ever that you start liking and subscribing to this channel. So take that extra second and like and subscribe. That way you get notified, because we're going to do some new stuff here pretty soon. And because of some of the new stuff that we're going to be doing, it may not rank as well. And if you like what we're doing, then you want to know where we're at. So in the short term, a good like and a subscribe will really help us out. It'll kind of push us over this little threshold, and we may be starting up some new channels. You never know. I've got an idea for a new show. I've talked about this before. I don't know what it's going to be called, but it's going to be tits. It's going to be a really good show. And so Marco wants to know if we're drinking beer. I don't know. Does it match my logo?
Maybe.
Yep, he's got the Camelback beer.
Maybe.
And I've got the Peebs. Just like my sponsor. You know, they got to be careful how they do this, because if they want to angle at the camera, I have a hard time doing the old lip lock around the edge to. Tasty. So anyhow, yes, we're doing that. Matt Stoutenberg would like to know, what size rebar do you use for your frame modifications? He's actually serious, because back in the XR100 racing days, I actually made a subframe with rebar, and then it bent, so I just doubled up the rebar, and I was really surprised at how strong it was. But at the time, it was the only material I had. So you do what you got to do. That's what we like to say. So Victor says hi. Did you see Victor up there? He was a sweep rider. He's the Mexican guy. Sometimes we call him a beaner.
I think we were so far up front, we didn't have any sweep riders.
Yeah. He's actually a popsicle salesman, is what his real job is. He's a high-end popsicle salesman. That's how I met Victor, one of our top fans on the show for sure.
Yep.
But it's good to see all you guys back. I know we're early, but Trevor, you have to go to a Prairie Dogs meeting.
Yes.
You're going to decide how to make District 37 even worse.
Yes, absolutely. That's our goal. I don't know if we can, but we'll try.
You don't know if you can? It's hard to do, isn't it?
It is.
So in riding those bikes, especially at altitude, you're up at 8. We probably got up to like 9,000.
Possibly. I don't even know. I don't even know where we were at or anything actually. Other than I know we went up Gold Mountain, which I don't really know anything about that. We went down to Devil's Hole and did like the Malcolm Smith Trail or whatever, or Redonda Ridge, whatever it's called. Yeah, but we were definitely up pretty high. And
you know Devil's Hole Trail. You guys go there and ride that with test bikes all the time.
Yeah, that was like the one trail I recognized.
And Victor is actually claiming that he actually guided you twice and you overshot some turns.
We overshot a lot of turns. I wouldn't doubt it.
How do you, if they give you a track log, you had a GPS unit?
Yes.
And you had a track log?
Yes.
You know a guy that teaches how to do that, and you overshot turns?
I didn't learn how to even turn the GPS on until the night before. So yeah.
Perfect. Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance. You know, you probably could have got like 5th overall if you hadn't overshot the turns.
There's a couple mistakes we could clean up, and I think we could make up some time.
And who went with you on that?
Tyler Belknap, your favorite. That's
Tyler. Right. The guy that I smoked last time we were at Glen Helen.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even get near me on the track. It was like scared.
He knew the speed you had.
Yeah. Yeah, I was carrying a lot of corner speed,
Yep.
right right to the ground. So that I I tell you, as I get older, and I like smoother lines and doing apexing turns and all that stuff like that, an FX 450, and this isn't a Yamaha ad. This is just straight up truth. That FX 450 is an awesome motocross bike, especially like at tracks at Glen Helen that get like rough and stuff.
Yep.
If you're not trying to do scrubby jumps and all that stuff like that, that FX is a really nice moto bike. Just run an aggressive map in it, and I was really impressed. I was kind of blown away because I didn't know from riding the YZ last year. I didn't know what the FX would end up doing suspension wise and things, but I was pretty happy with it.
No, I tend to
Uh,
prefer that over the motorbike even for myself.
oh really?
Yeah, just a little easier to ride,
Yeah.
motor
Yep.
wise, chassis wise, everything. Like they do just enough to like soften everything up and make it easier to ride. So
Yep. So Victor does admit you were going fast,
yeah, well, we were racing.
and yeah, and Johnny Rotten and Marco are drinking Bud Lights, and they're ready to talk about motorcycles. They're probably yelling at the screen right now because they want to get on the show. Marco, get me an email, text me an email address, and I'll send you a link. I'll get you on the show. It'll be when it turns into a shit show. I need some help. I really, really, really do. So Trevor, how about my performance at my job lately? I'm looking for my performance review.
Um, don't you have to be doing something to get a performance review?
Oh, that's a good point.
I was gonna say I don't know if I
Yeah.
could get a performance review either.
Oh, you've been ditching out on
A
work?
little bit on this work.
Isn't it nice when you just don't even know who the boss is?
I guess it is. I don't even know. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know. I told the guy at Triumph you owned a dirt bike test today, so
Oh, there you go.
that's
What does that even mean?
I, s- I told him I said I'll see if Trevor will let me come and test that bike. So just for those that we always like to talk a little about what we are testing. I'm currently testing a AJP PR7, which is actually it says 650 on the side panel, and it's actually a 600. So I'm already confused, but another really good bike, a surprising bike that dirt bike tests. They pushed it down a hill, right? They did a full test on it because the battery went dead, so they pushed it down a hill, shot some photos, and gave it to you.
I think that's straight into the back of the truck.
So yeah, got that. Got over 1,000 miles on that thing. I have most of the video assets. I would like to go out and actually get some pictures of it riding. But do you know how hot GoPro cameras get just on their own, just running on their own? Have you ever noticed that?
Hot enough to shut off.
Right. Well, now you go outside and they shut off very quickly. They need a cooling fan or something like that.
Yeah.
So I haven't been able to get the stuff. I went out and I just need to go out like before the sun comes up. So so I got that going on. I'm going to rebuild a Beta 300. I got the piston kit and stuff for that. So I'm going to do. I've got. I think we have. I don't even 80 hours in that bike, probably more. I mean, how many hours do you think you put on it? Over 40, right?
I say the KTM had probably about 30 when I gave it to you, so very similar.
Yeah.
I'd
So
say.
this thing has 80 hours on it now, at least 75.
Yeah.
And I just want to do it just to do it because it's been 5 or 6 years since I pulled one apart, and I know they made a lot of little changes. So that's on the list. I have my KTM 300, a 2019 300 with we're pushing 200 hours, 180 hours or something on it. So I want to pull that apart and just kind of it's starting to make like what I would consider piston slappy noises. Uh, so so it's I don't know if I didn't get the parts for free, if I would do it right now. I might wait a little bit longer, or maybe I should do it now before something bad happens. But it's had a lot of hard hours on it, so I'm gonna do that. But I'm gonna do all these on this new show. This new show is you're gonna get some real tech insight, or see a lot of cussing and throwing tools. and cats walking through. There's going to be a lot of cats in this video because cats do really well on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
My cat will hang out with me while I'm working on motorcycles in the garage, so it should be good. And Stefan Little says, "Welcome back, Jimmy. Your thoughts on the CF Moto 450 MT? Big sales in Austria." So the CF Moto, I don't know if I'm familiar with exactly that one. So CF Moto actually at the Tour Tech Rally, they had a big truck and they were doing demo rides, and it's a Chinese company that they have a lot of the KTM. They're reproducing the KTM engines. Let's put it that way. I think they're producing a lot of parts for them, and there's some sort of tie-in between the two companies. I don't know if it's ownership. I don't know if it's like the combination they have with Baja, the Indian company, but I know they have a 790 thing that's very similar, and surprisingly, I didn't ride it. I should have gone and rode it. I heard it's really good. In fact, I heard a couple people say, and these are guys that own 790s, 890s, they're like, I may have liked it more than my orange one or my Husky 901 one, which doesn't surprise me anymore. I mean, probably the first Chinese bike that surprised me a lot, and I thought it was a KTM knockoff the very first time I saw a picture of it, was the Cove. I was really pretty surprised that worked as well as it did and is as durable as it was and all these other things. And now we're starting to see, some of this stuff. And it's funny because I was listening to some other, another show where they were talking about motorcycle stuff, and someone actually asked, I think they were talking to a KTM factory mechanic or somebody called in and said, hey, since China, KTM's making everything in China now, is that going to affect your race team? It's like, is that where we're at? You get to ride with these guys. Actually, you should do. Did you do? And is your Big Bear video all done?
Yeah.
The super edited one.
Yeah.
Did you get a Johnny Campbell interview? No,
I can't remember.
You edited the video, and so that means it's not in the video.
I got Gnarly Dave for sure.
Oh, you got Gnarly Dave. Oh, you got to get Gnarly Dave.
Johnny took a video of me and Preston changing an air filter, but I don't remember I don't think I got.
You didn't get the video I told you to get.
I talked to Johnny. I didn't get it on video, I don't think.
If you would have talked to him, you probably could have been on the Baja team. You would have been out trying out for Dakar with Ricky Brabeck. All you had to do was talk to him after that 8th or 9th overall performance. So who got 8th and 9th?
I got 8th. Tyler got 9th.
Did you race to the line? Or he didn't know where he was going. He was just following
you? Actually, I was following him because he was ready to run out of gas. And there was guys coming somewhere behind us. We didn't know how far. We'd gapped him. But I was ready, if his bike died, to just push him with my leg into the finish, and
block the road.
And block the road, of course. And so I followed him in, but then he didn't know where to go to turn in all our tickets and stuff, and so I happened to turn it in first, I guess.
Yeah,
but
it's like turning your scorecard at a race.
Yeah.
Connor Steed has a question for us. He says, and you get to answer this to start with, what's the best way to tell if your clutch is smoked or not?
If you break a clutch plate, that could mean it's smoked. I learned that recently.
Right.
I learned that the hard way.
Right. So how do you tell if it's smoked? Do you know how to do this?
I don't know. Usually, if it feels like it's dragging, or if you put the bike in gear or whatever, and you pull the clutch in and it's still kind of lurching forward, it's not disengaging all the way.
Yeah. Yep. That's super smoked. Yeah. If it doesn't shift in some bikes, if they normally shift into neutral quite easily and all of a sudden they become difficult to shift into neutral, that generally means there's some clutch issues. I don't want to say smoked, but you know how you just hate having to do this show, Trevor? I'm gonna save you like probably a couple race victories in the future by telling you what I'm going to tell you now. So pay very close attention.
Yep.
So the best way to tell if your clutch is smoked, and by smoked I think he means, because clutches are designed to slip a certain amount.
Yeah.
Like they have slip built into them. So you don't want a clutch that's completely locked up, because that will send the shocks that the tire is encountering, the tire through the sprocket, through the chain, through the transmission, all the way to the crank. And you don't want that. That's why clutches are dampened. But if the clutch needs to slip just a little bit, but not so much. So the best way to do this, I've found, is if I think I've got my clutch hot and it may be kind of compromised and it's still working normally at like low power levels, I will take a bike, get it someplace where it's smooth, there's no obstruction, stuff like that. I'll roll the bike on in third gear, and I'll just start dragging the crap out of the brake. And then if it doesn't bog the bike back down, clutch is good. I mean, if it does bog the bike back down, clutch is good. Clutch is good. If it bogs the bike down, come on, Jimmy, use words. If you're dragging the brake and holding the throttle wide open, you're just working your way to wide open, and the motor bogs down, the clutch is good. It's not letting it slip. But if you start dragging that brake and the motor keeps going up and up and up, it's slipping. You understand? And then if you're curious about it, if you're like, I can't tell because sometimes the power will overpower the brake, the brake isn't that good as well, at that time, then you slip the clutch. And if you pull the clutch and you hear it rev up, you just barely tap it and it revs up, then you know that the clutch is good. Like you let it out and it bites again, you rev,
Yeah.
So this is the best way to just kind of quickly test your clutch. And if you have a cable clutch, you want to always make sure there's a little bit of a free play in the, when you're not using it, there's a little bit of free play, because some clutches, when they heat up, they expand and then they take the free play out of the line, and then it's essentially like you're always slipping your clutch. So that's the best way I've found to tell if the clutch is smoked. It if it's just not working properly, yeah, and then you can always pull the cover off and look at the plates. If they're blue, yes. If they look polished, yes. Sometimes the warping, the little bit of a warping that occurs, you're not going to be able to see that in, without, setting them on a flat surface and using a table. But boy, you can feel it like when you shift or when you, try to put the bike in neutral, stuff like that. Clutch drags, where ordinarily you would be able to disconnect it. So that's my thoughts on that. And George Justice, remember George?
Oh yeah,
remember that guy?
I still need some stickers. That's why I haven't been winning races lately.
Well, no, you need money, and then you will run stickers. Let me get this. I had to have a talk with another racer that I know today, and I was just talking about some stuff, and I'm like, dude, you need to get your, make sure that these deals are good for you too. So you would like to get some stickers, but you'd like to run some stickers, but the check needs to show up.
All right. They can send it all in one envelope.
Entry fee. George asks, what if your back brake is smoked too? If your clutch and your back brake are smoked, you don't know how to ride, and you should come to www.jimmylewisoffroadracing.com. Not racing, just racing, off-road. Yeah, we do everything. JimmyLewisOffroad.com, the best riding school on the planet. Yeah, we start up schools again, maybe in October. Go get, if you really want to know what your riding problem is, we have a beginner rider series video on the website. Just go to online classes, click on that thing, download the beginner one, and even if you're Trevor Hunter, you would learn something that you're doing wrong.
I'm doing a lot wrong. I already know.
Right. So it said George, he's airing his dirty laundry here in the chat. He says, Trevor never returned my text with his address. You just say, what's the answer, Trevor?
I don't remember that text, but I'll have to go and look.
You don't get my address without a check. So, okay. That's if I work as an agent on the side too. If you need your deals set up, I can help you out there too. So all things considered, now Should you have been disqualified for running non-DOT tires on your dual sport ride?
I will say we 100% had the most legal dual sport bikes out there. So can I just leave it at that? Maybe the only
but
legal dual sport bikes out there.
Was your well, you definitely passed sound,
Yes.
but the tires did it have a DOT stamp on them?
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, probably not. You ran Moose's, right?
Yep.
What do the big letters on the side of the Moose box say?
Not for
The ones right next to the. Yeah, okay, yeah. You rode down some highways, saw that.
Just a little bit.
I'm going to get you disqualified. You're going to have to give those places back. Last time I did that was on an XT600, Trevor.
That sounds miserable.
You know what? You know what? No, it's just like yours. It was a stock dual sport bike. I had a big gas tank on it, and I remember like they were telling me, "You need to leave. You need to go. You need to get out of the parking lot." I'm like, why? It's a dual sport ride. And I didn't realize that. Yeah, finished. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know if they gave us plaques back then. Unlike this finisher, everybody's a finisher award ceremony thing that we got going on these days.
I think they should have.
So what else?
I think they should have an award for the fastest rider down the pavement in the morning. Who can be the fastest overall time from the start to when you first hit the dirt?
Do you know some guys on the highway patrol? Does your dad have some friends?
Yeah.
Well, they should get somebody up there to give that award.
Or maybe just like highest speed.
Well, I mean, they could just sit out there with their radar gun, then they could give awards out.
Yeah.
They should do this. I mean, because some of these donkeys, this is bad. This is a bad eye for the community. All running their beluga mufflers and all this stuff like that.
Going 70 on the wrong side of the highway at 6 a.m, trying to pass.
Yeah. Yeah. Chris says next year he's going to have the EPA and the NHTSA guys help with tech inspection. He's going to make sure it's all. Hey, I used to know. God, I wish I could remember that tire sponsor I used to have. They have really good DOT dual sport tires. I can't remember. I was with them for like 15 years. I wonder what I did wrong. Is what I always wonder. What I did wrong to get canned like that. But happens. I'm waiting for my boss at this job to just tell me to go pound sand. Let's on the agenda here. So what else were we going to talk about? You don't know? It's a podcast talking show where we talk about that kind of stuff. Jeff Sweeney says he loved the 300s beating the flash bikes, as he called them.
There's a lot of flash on those bikes out there.
And Victor wants to know what was more challenging, Gold Mountain or Redonda Ridge?
I would say Redonda, simply because the amount of whoops we had to roll through was like unbelievable. Gold Mountain was just like kind of loose, rocky, which on those bikes is actually really easy. And then Redonda, the rocks were no big deal, but just all the whoops we had to roll through and pound ourselves into the ground to get through that made it harder on those bikes for sure.
But so the harder the trail, the better those bikes work.
Absolutely.
And this is. I mean, I know this just from doing this kind of stuff, but if on those bikes you can just literally let the clutch out and just use the throttle, and they get traction.
Yep.
Because they don't have too much power.
No.
And generally, when you watch guys that struggle, well, the first thing is they don't understand. They can't feel the traction because they're out of balance. And then when they start falling over, what do? They gas it, and too much power. And so instead of moving forward, it spins, and then it finds something to grab traction on. It shoots them in a direction that they're not familiar with, because who knows which direction a bike goes when it's out of balance. It's whichever way, you know how a bike turns, right?
Yep.
Whichever way it's out of balance, that's the way it's going to go. And so then they grab traction, and then they go, and then there's usually a correction involved, which usually means the feet are off the pegs at this time and the legs are out. And sometimes they loop. Did you see anybody loop out?
Oh yeah. Right in front of me as I was passing. They didn't fully loop out, like they kind of saved it, but the bike was at least 12 o'clock and they were hanging off the back as I was trying to pass them up a little rock waterfall thing.
Funny, I've never seen that before. I mean, it's hard. I've just seen videos on the internet. That's how I just described all this
I was gonna you.
stuff.
It looks like you watched just like 2 minutes of my GoPro, and there's about 100 guys that did exactly that.
So is that video up on our YouTube channel right now?
It is. It's actually one of the best videos we've done in a long time.
Best videos you've done. I mean, you don't have 3.4 million views or anything like that.
I let you take all the credit. I'll do
Well, like this show, this show is usually tracking in the hundreds of thousands. By the way, slap the like button, and we will take donations of hundreds of thousands of US dollars. If you would like to, you can come on this show. You can pay me a lot of US dollars, and I will put you in the seat. You can sit right over here. You could sit in this spot right here, which looks kind of like a mess right now because you can sit next to this guy. He's kind of like a Hall of Famer guy. You can sit right next to that guy, and for lots of money. And we'll just check us out on whatever platform that we decide to come on next. We're gonna dominate that market. George, how can I find that video? I think I'll watch it instead. George, you could have been the presenting sponsor of these two donkeys in that thing if you would have just for free too, because he didn't even ask you for any money. Now that I'm in the middleman's going to make a lot of money on this next year's deal. They can run the George decals like I did at King of the Hammers, and I think we can put something together. I think we can get you guys in touch, and I'll make sure that the addresses are exchanged in lieu of money coming through the program. So, YouTube Dirt Bike Test YouTube channel. It's the premier video, the main one.
It's on dirtbiketest.com too.
Okay. Oh, you managed to do that thing where you put it on our website that we have.
Yeah, it took a while, but I got it done. There's also
what else is up there?
There's also a written report on there as well. So if you don't like to watch, you can read it instead.
Because old guys ride dual sports and they like to read.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Do we have any other questions rolling through the thing here? I didn't do a whole lot of show prep. I do have some pictures of a bike that someone wants me to sell. So it's Roost Endo or for sale. So this bike is for sale. I'll put it up after we get rid of Trevor here. He's got to go to a meeting pretty soon. And then of course my XR650 is still for sale. It's actually sold. Like a guy bought it, but he didn't take delivery. So I told him I would refund him his purchase price when you out there in the internet's world buy this nice XR650 with an electric start, has all the Johnny Campbell, the old 1X, so JCR stuff on it basically. It has parts that have won the Baja 1000, believe it or not. Actually, parts on this bike that have been on an XR650 that won the Baja 1000.
If I buy it, will I win the Baja 1000?
Do you really want to win the Baja 1000?
No.
It's really not that hard.
No. I don't really want to.
Well, now you know the hard thing about winning the Baja 1000 these days is you need to have like 8 other stupid friends that want to go race the course. It's not like the old days where you just did it with in the real world where you did it with like two men. Yeah, 2 men would ride the bike. Now you get a whole bunch of friends, and then you go ride it, and usually make a video about it and have a whole story, and it's emotional. So it's not like the old days when you just grit it out. You might die, but you gritted it out and rode the bike and tried to win. And when I did it, it really wasn't even that gnarly. I mean, it was because we pre-ran so much. I mean, it's still gnarly, but I mean now it's gnarly, but in a crazy way.
Yeah.
Because it's just, you need 8 guys to. Hey, what you need to do is you need to look at the guys that are riding the 40 and the 50 class when they go to the finish line, and there's like 20 guys on the podium, and guess what? They're all riders. They each ride like 12 miles.
I think there was like 6 guys or something on the last year's winning team.
And on the pro motorcycle team,
yeah, at least 5.
I don't even think Johnny used.
At least 5.
They didn't even use that guy when they did the Baja 2000. They didn't use that many guys.
Yeah, but it's different, Jimmy.
That's what Ricky tells me all the time. He tells me that about Dakar. Ricky goes, "It's different, Jimmy," and I'm like, "No, it's not." Yeah, you guys ride small little girls' bikes, 450s, and you get to sleep in motorhomes.
That's
It's
different.
different. You're right.
That is
You're absolutely different.
different.
That's different. Uh, the only, the only thing the same is that it's gnarly, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah.
Everybody's heard. This is what Victor said, and everybody's heard, and not that I'm the motorcycle race director, but Nora is a much better motorcycle race, and you heard it here first. Although I've mentioned it to my racers, we're going to limit entries next year. So if you want to do Nora, make sure that you are paying attention to the information that Nora puts out about it, because we're going to do some pretty cool stuff next year that we just can't have that many motorcycles on. So if you were in the race this year or the year before, since I've been race director, you will know beforehand so you can decide you want to do it. And then it's going to be even more awesomer if that's such a thing. And everybody's asking, like, hey, how come there aren't motorcycles at the Nora 500? It's because we are focusing on the 1000 for the motorcycles. I don't have a whole lot of time, and it would have been kind of rushed to put a whole course together for the 500. So we're going to do an even better job for the 1000 next year. It's going to be really cool. So Chris Real has a question for you, Trevor. What 5 things would you do for the stock small displacement dual sport bike? And I think you did a couple of them.
Yeah.
In the video.
For sure, tire. I mean, it depends on what you're doing, but if you're doing any kind of dirt riding, I would for sure do tires. That's probably the biggest thing. Skid plate, tires, skid plate. Like I said, I would have put flex handlebars on, especially if we were
Fasst Company, a sponsor, a previous sponsor.
Yep.
Of Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, and personal sponsor of Jimmy Lewis.
Yep.
Because my wrists can't handle that.
Yep. My can't either now. I'm getting old. Tires, skid plate, flex bars. I'd be curious to do just like a suspension revalve, like what that would feel like on one of those bikes. Honestly, I don't know if I would do anything to the power. Like, the bikes are so easy to ride in that hard stuff, and then you get in the fast stuff, and because you don't make a lot of power, you literally just can hold the bike wide open, and you're not going fast enough to hit anything or do anything crazy. There's no throttle control. There's no nothing. You just hold it wide open, and you're only going 40 down a fire road. So I'd probably leave the power. Maybe some handlebars.
Trevor said hold it wide open. So
yeah, always.
Yeah.
But
have you ever held a Husaberg 650 wide open, Trevor?
Not a 650, but a 570.
Yeah, 650 is pretty good too. So to roll back on that that whole thing. So I totally agree, 100% on the tires. Number one for any level rider, anybody.
Yeah.
If you're more constant for 50-50, if you're going to be, riding to the market or it's back in the motorhome and you're using around the campsite, stock tires are just fine. But if you want to have traction, tires are the only thing connecting you to the ground. Get some tires. For sure, that's the thing. Skid plates for the average person.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things. I mean, for you, yes, you're smashing it into stuff. That's important. But like for regular Joe, I sometimes more or less, it's not going to hurt anything. I would almost say, kind of depending on how you're going to use them, how you're going to ride them, I would go bigger gas tank.
Yeah, that would.
I mean, 90, 100 miles is good, but boy, I mean, there's times when you just want that 120.
Yep.
And it's so weird because that's an American thing, especially American West thing, because, you go back east, you go to Europe, different places like that, South America. It seems like South America, they don't have gas stations. You just go to, Juan's house, and he has a 5-gallon jerry jug of gas someplace. But there's, so gas is kind of a thing, and onto the suspension revalve that you talked about. This is where you get to that point where if you're overriding the suspension and you think you're going to make it better, you are going to spend so much money.
Yep.
Trying to get it to where it could be. If you know this because you've ridden other bikes. You know this because you've ridden really good bikes that work well. The person that's usually riding those bikes doesn't know that. but they think, oh, I'll just get the suspension fixed better, revalved. And you're just going down this path. And this is same with adventure bikes, by the way. You're going down this path that's going to start getting ridiculously and exponentially expensive to achieve something that you're never going to be satisfied with, because you could go get a KTM 350, for instance. You could get a box stock KTM 350, and the performance of everything goes up to a level. I mean, if Yamaha made you could get your WR450 plated, and then Yamaha's sponsor of the show, but you could go, and the thing is, when you start riding those bikes to that level, it is time to get onto something that's a little bit higher performance. Like Beta
100%.
makes good dual sport bikes that are street legal, and you're gonna. It's funny when you start going to the competition bikes, because you've also you have heard about how the competition bikes run. Well, the dual sport version does not run that way. It runs kind of quirked up, kind of quiet, kind of like the bikes you were running.
Yep.
And what's funny about that is they also kind of get traction and they work really good. And if guys would quit putting the beluga mufflers and the ECUs and stuff on them, their legs wouldn't be flopping off the back when they lost their balance and turned the throttle the wrong way.
Yep.
So, KJ says, what about -1 tooth on the front sprocket for more easier second, third gear use?
I was also one of the things. I don't know if I'd go on the front sprocket, but possibly on the rear sprocket. I found myself a lot in between like second and third gear a lot, especially on the climbs. So I wouldn't have minded playing with some gearing. Probably
adding like what, 1 or 2 teeth?
Probably 2. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like 1 to 3 is my kind of ratio just for ballparking. If you're going to go down 1, that'd be like going up 3 on the rear.
Yep.
So maybe 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
George says an LED headlight. Well, that would mean that you have to be out at night, George, and Trevor has that restraining order against him, so he has to be home by a certain time before his bracelet starts buzzing. So the other thing is, also, would you do that event again on the Honda with stock tires or with tubes at 15 psi or greater?
Definitely not tubes. I would get a flat right away. I get flat tires pretty easily, so I wouldn't do it with tubes. Stock tires would just be miserable and kind of unsafe, honestly. I mean, could I do it? Absolutely, but would I want to? Definitely not.
So next year, box stock, 100% box stock.
We definitely need a skid plate.
No, you just ride them slower. We're not going for the overall.
There's some big boulder fields though that we put the skid plates to the test a couple times.
You just ride around them.
And they're too heavy to lift over.
Yeah, you don't lift. You just ride around them. Just narrow. Just go through. What do all the guys with the big horsepower spin the track down so much that you got stuck?
I actually
took all the dirt out from between the rocks.
We just had bad line choice through one of them. That was completely 100% our fault. Like, we could have saved so much energy and so much time if we just like stopped for a second. But I don't know. We're rushing. We're racing, so we couldn't stop. We had to get there.
Yeah, racing at the
dual sport ride. Dual sport ride.
Jackson Nick says, when are you guys testing the 2025 KTM 350 XCF?
I don't know if we'll test that bike, but I would really like to get a 300 XC 2-stroke for 2025.
Yeah.
Off-road race bike.
Heard some things.
I've heard they're pretty good.
So the 350 XCF, that's the off-road race version.
Yeah. I'd also like to try a 450 XCFW PDS bike. I think that's a very curious bike for a lot of our guys.
Yeah.
Even though PDS can't be made good, apparently. But
right. It's completely horrible, except I really like it.
Yeah.
I think it's good. Well, I know that what is Todd riding now? Is he on a PDS bike, or he's still riding linkage?
He's still on the linkage, but he was actually did a lot of the testing on our 350, and he's torn between buying a 350 or a 450 right now. He doesn't really know which way to go.
I saw an interesting post in my perusing through the internet of a guy who went he got on the 350 bandwagon because all the quote media said it was the best thing ever, and he went back to a 450 and he was kind of just talking about how much he really liked it, and that he thinks 350s are like useless essentially. And it's funny because I kind of in some ways I agree with him, especially if you know when you go to like racing motocross or shorter races where the start is really critical.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on how high level the riders are, because when you go to like riders that are not, you know, high level really good starters, you can get the 350s make plenty of horsepower, and if you can keep the throttle, you know, 3/4 of an above, you're going at what we'll call max traction. You know, you're gonna be, if you go at that point a 450, a 350, it's just how well you're putting the power to the ground, and that takes takes a certain amount of skill and stuff like that. When you start talking about longer races, that's where it's always interesting to find out. And then it depends on how you ride. If you're a guy that likes to rev a bike and you're trying to ride a 450 in longer races, you're going to suffer and you're going to go slower. Where on a 350, that kind of technique sort of pays off.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, and if you're revving a 450, they get heavy. Where if you're revving a 350, they don't get as heavy, so you don't get as tired as quickly. All these other things. But it was funny to just see, and it was like I almost wanted it. Those are the kind of guys I like to ask questions of. Like, why, you know, what's your style? Because he was just saying, all you media guys are idiots. And, I mean, I would say he's 96% right. And, you know, that we're only 4% of the whole media market, me and you, right?
Sure.
So, yeah. So just you do that math. You in the YouTube worlds do that math. But I mean, I was like the very first time I rode a 350, I was all in on 350s, and then I kind of went away because I don't really like revving stuff that much unless it's 125. And then when they started getting more torque, I came back, and I've been back and forth. And so just like this guy, you know, and you got to kind of have to decide how you ride and what you're really using it for. But here's what's cool about dirt bikes, and especially we have so much variety out there today. By the way, if you need some variety in your dirt bike riding, Mark, you always go down to your Yamaha dealer or go to Yamaha motorsports.com and check out the line of the 2024 YZs, which I hear you can get a smoking deal. They have 2 strokes, they have 4 strokes. You know, the TTR 50 has electric start.
Yeah.
Okay. So people go, why, Jimmy, why do you ride a KTM 300? And it's like, well, because it has electric start. And the TTR 50 has electric start. So if you want to have a real young boy turn into a man, or a real young girl turn into a nice lady, they should ride a gas-powered mini bike
with electric
right
start.
after they get off there with electric start. Yeah. That just don't, you know, it's okay if you want to ride one of those electric ones, but we want a real motorcycle, get a little TTR 50. So YamahaDealer.com. Okay, so. Jackson says, yeah, I've yet to ride the XC300, but I have rode the 300 XCW, and I will say it rips. Actually, most people say the XC300 XCW is slow and has no throttle response. That's what most people say, right?
Yeah.
So this guy actually turned the throttle.
He did.
He turned it all the way and let it go. Yeah, most people they only turn it a little bit and they go, oh, it's kind of smooth. It doesn't really rip my arms out of my socket. I'm not falling off the back and looping out.
Can't wheelie through the parking lot.
Yeah, it's important. Okay. So we have any other questions out there in the chat world? Thanks everybody for joining in. Again, I'm going to mention this one more time. It's really important that you hit that like or subscribe button so you can get more ads delivered to you, because that's all we do here at Dirt Bike Test. We're an ad delivery service, right, Trevor?
Yep. I don't know what else. What else are we good for?
We test dirt bikes and products, and what other products? I got a lot of things. I got a lot of stuff I need to do. So I did my my Scott knee braces, or knee pads. Sorry. like it's like I'm just finding my most favorite stuff, and I'm starting to try to do little sit down videos and talk about them. And there's like 2 or 3 other things I really need to get to do, but it's too hot. It's too hot to do that. Jackson disagrees with us, but he says it sucks at jumping. He's not a fan of no linkage. So that's where, in all honesty, that's the it's not set up to jump. It's set up to absorb. And like jumping, you want to have hold up, because if it absorbs the whole jump, by the time you're usually halfway up the jump face, it's rebounding, and that's not a good thing. So you can set them up for motocross, but then they're not that good at not jumping stuff.
Yeah.
They're really good in hoops. Like, even though there's no racer in the world that would tell you this, because I've ridden PDS bikes that are so good at hoops, because you could use the positioning of the PDS system and the way it works to get the bike to squat down and get really long and just hold. So it bumps into where that PDS, which PDS means that there's a second piston inside the shock, and so it literally hydraulically locks. So then you can really smack into something mid-stroke, and it doesn't go any deeper in the stroke, which is, you don't want your bike getting deeper and deeper into the stroke in hoops, because then it starts, if it rebounds out, it drops the nose, which isn't very good. So KJ says, if you had done the event with stock tires, Trevor,
Yep.
and tubes running 15 PSI on the Honda, how much farther back do you think you would have finished?
Assuming
I like the 15 PSI. I don't know where that's coming from, but anyways.
Assuming I didn't get a flat tire, even though that's highly unlikely. Honestly, I don't know how much further, like, we were in the last 20 or so miles, we were like battling some guy, or not battling, but we were going back and forth with some guys.
At a dual sport ride, by the way.
Dual sport ride. And then we dropped into this really hard canyon, and then we never saw him from there. So I don't know how much further back he finished on time, but I would say, I mean, I don't know, maybe an hour slower, 45 minutes slower.
Just be okay. So maybe. because of the you would be going slower because the braking safety isn't there.
Yep.
And the turning traction isn't there.
Yeah, you'd probably be spinning a little bit more in the rock.
Spinning, yeah, going up the hills and the soft stuff.
I mean, it was a 10 over a 10-hour day, so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, an hour isn't that
no.
off, but it's, people don't realize how important tires are. I mean, it really does make a pretty big difference. But the thing is, you can get tires that are DOT stamped that are as aggressive as, I mean, even some of the extreme enduro tires are DOT approved. So the DOT approval has nothing to do with the tread pattern. It has to do with an approval process and some other things. It's kind of a self-approval thing, but it's not that hard to get a good DOT tire that's going to do things. Rear tire choice for KTM 500 EXCF. He wants to know about Sean wants to know. Sean, I have your bike on hold here. We're going to try to sell it later in the show. 140/80/18 or 130/90/18. A 140/80 is a lot more common. Actually, a 120/80 is pretty common also. I've never heard of a 130/90. Have you?
I don't think no. I've heard of 140/80.
I mean,
but never one.
Yeah. But I don't think that. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, like on the 500s and stuff and now there's so many different brands with a lot of weird sizing, and brand to brand, the sizing is different. Like, what a Michelin stamps on the side of their tire is much different than what Dunlop is much different than, like, let's say, a Pirelli. They all kind of have their own, way of interpreting this. So it's just kind of go with experience. But on those, I always run I run 90% of the time I'm running a 120/80 18 on my KTM 500s. So what do you guys run in the best of the desert stuff?
We run a 120 100
Okay.
for that
Yeah.
stuff,
So
and then for anything else, I like 110 100s, even on 450s.
really,
Yeah, it's like
yeah. For me, they're too like they roll too easy and they slide too easy. Like when you kind of get it on the side of the tire,
yeah,
like they seem like in certain conditions they'll bite a little bit better in a straighter line, but when you kind of go to slide, for me, when just rolling it onto the side of the tire, um, yeah, it's a and again it's a personal preference and it kind of
yeah.
depends on how your bike's set up, front to rear weight bias and different things like that. Ashley says, I thought the place linkage was better than PDS was in high speed desert hoops. No. If you talk to anybody in the real world, the linkage is better every place. But if you talk to me and maybe three other people in the world, we think the PDS is better in any one specific location, not as variable. So yeah. Brian too. Thoughts on an RMZ 250 for a first race bike, Trevor?
I think it's a great race bike for a first race bike. Even for an experienced rider, it's still a really good bike. Like, is it the fastest 250F? No, but you should ride it a little harder. It's like, yeah, it's pretty manageable power. And if you're kind of newer to racing and whatnot, it's definitely at the right price point. It's absolutely a great race bike.
Price point is huge.
Yeah,
Jimmy cannot ride one because it's kickstart,
yeah.
and I don't.
I'm not
The only
tall
bike
enough
I
to ride.
kickstart is a Husaberg.
I'm not tall enough to ride one to kickstart a four stroke, so I can't ride it.
Um, Anthony Z says, "Do y'all have any tips on riding towards the sun in the morning or afternoon and seeing a little better?"
I'm the worst at that, so
Uh,
no, I need help.
you need help. Okay, so I'll step in here. Scott goggles. If you have Scott goggles, that's going to just eliminate any glare from the sun. They have the best fit for most people. The dust, keeping the dust out, is super huge. This goes for any goggles in reality, but so a lot of my helmets, by the way, and I use a climb helmet, have adjustable visors, and I have them so that they're loose enough to where I can push them down and lift them up. So most of the time I'm running them in the up position, except when I want to be a real goon and then I run them down, fold down. But in the sun, riding in or to the sun, no matter what, I just reach up and push my visor down. If I were racing, I would a lot of times have a duct tape extension. It might have been an old goggle lens that I cut, a tinted goggle lens that I'll cut, and I'll tape it to the top of my lens so I can get a little bit more going down. It was interesting because there used to be this visor that had a little screen across the brim of the visor with a. It was Malcolm Smith kind of made these things famous. I think he started importing them or reselling them. It had a little like kind of a tinted lip that hung down off the visor. I don't remember what it was called. I think right when I left Dirt Rider, I was testing one or two of those. I had them laying around, and it was, if I was racing into the sun, I would definitely consider it because it was the same sort of thing I was making with these lenses on my visor. And then once the sun was not a problem, I would just tear it off like a tear off. I would get rid of that visor piece, but having the ability to kind of slide that visor up and down, and in conjunction having that other little thing would really help out. So yeah, Anthony, hopefully that helps you out. Ashlito says 15 psi is too much. Real dual sporters run 25 minimum.
Maybe on the asphalt. I don't know about in the dirt.
Tire pressure is huge, and it's funny how many people err on the side of running too much, thinking it's going to prevent the flats. If your tire's properly installed and all those things like that, once you go, it's funny because I think, and I don't have any proof on this, but I've when I tried all these different pressures and stuff like that, I had as many pinch flats running higher pressure as I did when I was running lower pressure. It didn't seem like the pressure made a difference. But when you do those ones where you feel the rim, hey, were the rims bent on the bikes when you were done?
So, amazingly, no.
Really?
I don't know how that front wheel just didn't get tacoed, but no. At least on the Honda. The
Nice.
Kawasaki I haven't seen. Tyler still has that, but the Honda, yeah, the rims they still look like they're pretty true, and I didn't see any flat spots. So
Yeah. So
we weren't racing that
so
hard.
when you get when you get that one that you know you're bending your rim, and running mooses all the time, this is a lot more common than not, but if you're at the what I would call an acceptable pressure range, so for me, adventure bikes I run 27 psi. Like as I start getting the smaller bikes, real dual sport bikes, I'm coming down into the 18, the 16, and this is like the I think I'm running 16 to 18 on the AJP that I have right now. And man, that has some Michelin tires on it that are really good. I'm trying to think of what those things were called. But so when you're running the acceptable tire pressure, it handles it. But when I've had too much, I've noticed I get I'll hit it and then it goes flat right away. And I think that when it's lower pressure, it allows it some give or something like that, and the pressure doesn't add to the pinching effect when it's going. But who knows? Let's see. Here's Angry Diesel says, "Yo Jimmy, yo Angry Diesel." Yeah, that's a shout out. Is that a good shout out?
I would take
I need a hype man for that. Let's see. The Moto's recommended a 130/90. Okay, so I told you it was going to be one of those weird brands that has weird tire sizes. But Moto's actually seems like they're getting a pretty good market share. I tell you what, if you talk, there's certain tire brands, and Moto's is one of them that you talk to people. It's like Terex. Do you ever remember Terex tires, Trevor? Your dad may have ran one of those at one time. So, anyhow, you're buffering. You're starting to watch that other stuff on the internet. Or are you watching something that's like you're watching some other YouTube video and then trying not to fall asleep?
maybe
Remember, I told you how not to fry a clutch. You have to go back to minute 12 of this
the Tour de France is on. I
podcast to
gotta,
get there.
gotta stay up to date in the Tour de
Oh,
France. I'm a bicycle racer, not a motorcycle racer.
okay.
I think there's
So
one
anyways,
other question for me.
there was one. So anyways, back to the there's some tires that wear like iron, and Motos is one of those. But they also sometimes ride down the trail or the road like iron. How did the Honda felt on the Clark's Garden grade downhill? Brake wise, did it get hit? Was the engine braking enough?
Clark's grade. I think that was a single track downhill through the trees. So I don't
even remember it.
It was like really fun, I thought, but it wasn't like super hard on the brakes. I don't think. Yeah, I never had any brake issues all day.
So, J Speed throttle cams, big difference? Question mark.
I've never tried those.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
So I've used a bunch of them, and for certain riders, yeah, they do make a big difference, especially when they're kind of done in conjunction with, sometimes they slow the initial roll on, and sometimes they make it more aggressive. But you gotta kind of understand what you like. And when I tested, like Motion Pro came out with this throttle with these different adjustable cams back in the day, and I tested it. I was trying these different things, and I am notorious for saying I like really smooth power, and that would just lead me to think that I would like a smoother or slower opening throttle cam, which was not the case. I like the most aggressive throttle cam I can get in there, and it's funny that I also tend to like a power that has I don't want to call it a hit, but a pickup, and then I just ride the bike a gear high, and that pickup goes away.
Yeah.
And then if I want that hit, I downshift and get into it. But throttle cams can play and do play. Like on my Tenere, I have a G2 ergonomics throttle cam in there that is, I believe it's a little bit more aggressive. And I'd have to check on that. But it definitely helped. I'm still struggling with my ECU mapping and the ding-dongs that map my ECU that think I'm an idiot. But everybody's entitled to their opinion. And they're probably 37% right. Lowbrow says, "Yo, Jimmy, enjoy pain while living, for in death there is no such pleasure." This is true.
I think I gotta get going, Jimmy.
You got to get going.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll let you get going, Trevor. We'll clip you out of this podcast. I'll see if I can get Marco to. Marco's phone's dying. He's out of beer.
What about
so I don't know if I'm gonna bring
Scott Hoffman? He had a big meltdown before Mammoth Motocross. I don't know how his experience went.
He did.
Yeah, I mean a little bit. Yeah.
Like a meltdown and his bike wasn't working.
Yeah, well he
couldn't ride.
He dropped his suspension off somewhere, and then they weren't gonna get it done in time. Then his graphics weren't coming in until like the night before he was leaving, and there was something else too that was just going wrong, and it's ruining his chances to get that factory ride for the summer.
Oh, because if you go to Mammoth, all the scouts are there, right?
Yep. Mitch was there watching that weekend.
Oh, he was.
I think so.
Because on a Kawasaki, yeah, I can see that happen. I'm trying to make an email go out here, but I don't know if this is going to work. I got to invite Marco to this meeting. I just jacked the whole thing up. So I'll answer a couple more of these questions. Say goodbye to Trevor. Follow Trevor on the Grams, on his personal YouTube channel, because he posts there more than he does on Dirt Bike Test, because he's trying to break off, even though he owns Dirt Bike Test, evidently. At least when I die, he does.
That should be the next Chris.
No. Yeah, just trevorhuntertesting.income.com.
Yeah.
Yep. Say hi to your dad. Sorry I couldn't make it down the river. I was hanging out with more popular people.
It happens. I'm used to it.
So, okay, Trevor, thanks for joining in on Dirt Bike Test, and we will see you out on the trail.
All right. I'll see you later.
Okay.
Bye.
So everybody, I'm going to get to the, I'm adding people right now. I'm trying to add people, but my computer screen is just destroying me. That's why I need a producer here on this show. Let's see if I can copy this. Can I copy the email address, and then I can add people, and then I can try this, and we'll see if this guy will join the show. Marco, you've been challenged to see if you're technologically advanced to get onto this show. How many PSI in your Tenere and how many ply tire? I don't know how many ply tire it is. Actually, I'm running the Bridgestone one right now, Josh, and I run 27 most of the time. And it's funny because on that one, I'm down to 24, and I haven't done enough street riding to decide whether that's the ideal pressure for that. And then someone else asked, how did the slow race go up in Washington? So he's referring to the Tech Talk, or not Tech Talk, the Tour Tech. Tour Tech, Tech Talk kind of sounds the same. The Tour Tech rally that I just went to, I went up there and did some training schools, and I hosted they called it a Moto circus or a rally rodeo. Basically, it was a shit show where we had people compete to win a trophy. And I don't remember exactly what I did, but a lot of people told me I did a good job at it. So I'm sorry for anybody that thought I did a bad job, but yeah, thanks for telling me I did a good job. I appreciate that. Oh, by the way, and for Mark, who's not here because he doesn't know we're doing this show, we have to decide what tequila we're having tonight. So I think we're going to have some Negra. I think I could also have Ragosa because I got them on point right here. Where's the camera? Here's the new camera. New camera locations in the shop tonight. So Ragosa. Oh, that's the back. Sorry, Jimmy. You'll get it right one of these days. Ragosa. So you guys decide. I'll have whichever one you guys decide on the show tonight. And Josh wants to know, tubeless or tube type. So on the Tenere, we're running tube tires. And I'm using wheels. I have a set of W wheels that they built up for me, which are super awesome. And man, you want to see a really sweet Tenere. Damon Bradshaw, the beast from the East, was also at the Tour Tech Rally, and he has a Tenere with some pretty. He's lightened it up. He's turned it into basically a Tenere race bike. Had a really bitchin' shock on it. Some factory forks, and I should have taken pictures of it, but I was drooling on it, and I didn't want to take pictures of me drooling. So kind of a cool thing. So we'll see which. So anyways, Ragosa, or Negra. You guys decide. It's pretty good. Let's see. How dusty was the ride at Saturday at Tour Tech? I seen that bike and it was sweet.
Am I there?
So
am I live now?
Oh, you're on. Yeah, you're on the show, Marco. Can we get your camera working?
Do I do FaceTime?
You put it on. Somehow you turn your camera on, and then we see you, and then I bring you onto the show. So
this is pretty technical. This is kind of technical.
Well, yeah, that's what I said. We usually do this before the show, but we didn't know we were going to do one.
we got excited watching it.
And so you're telling me that Johnny Rotten is there with you?
Oh yeah, trackside right here. We're bench racing. We love the 300s, and when we saw that those guys had done the Big Bear Trail Run, which I've done many a times, I just couldn't imagine doing it on a 300. But not really. I mean, why not?
Yeah, they work out. They work out really good. The little
like I said,
bikes.
The smaller the bike, the bigger the adventure.
Correct.
That's my theory, right?
Turn. Hey,
I don't know how to do it.
So you actually got to witness the bike I did the Big Bear Dual Sport ride on, because that was that XT600 that I took on that ride we did up around Mammoth that one year.
Oh my God!
Remember the one with the zebra stripe street?
Yeah, I do remember that bike. Legendary.
Yeah, so I had that one, and then I had the pink, the one with I had the one that had the pink zebra stripes, and I had the one that had the blue zebra stripes, because they were on closeout. Okay, Victor called it Ragosa. Here it is. I'm having a little Ragosa tequila, Marco.
Oh my gosh!
Did you figure out
we're drinking a Bud Light here, and then we only really had like 3 of them, so we didn't get that far.
So you haven't figured out how to get that camera working yet?
I have FaceTime.
Allow
I don't know how to.
Allow access to the thing, a majigger, however it works.
I always allow.
Don't you have any technologically savvy kids there that might be X Games gold medalists and/or insane skateboarders?
Sure. Wait.
Go.
I hit WhatsApp. Video. Not WhatsApp. Video.
Your kids, Marco. One of your kids is skating underneath those bridges in Portland.
I can't even imagine Jenny's not answering us.
Oh, you're trying to call your wife to have her patch in and figure out how this works?
Yeah, guys, this is embarrassing. We're outside. It's beautiful here in Mammoth. Lots of motorcycle riders in town last week. The week before, Moto was insane. Scott Hoffman did his best. We were there. We were watching.
Well, we were looking for a Scott Hoffman report, but we because I guess he was having a breakdown before. No suspension, no graphics. Did he have a suspension on his bike?
I don't know. That's a good question, but I know he didn't get a bear. He didn't make the main. He was staying right there at the Mammoth Creek Inn. I know one of the problems he might have had was the girl he came with, his girlfriend, forgot her underwear, so he had to share his underwear with her. That might have been an issue.
Ooh, I could see that being real problematic. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he had called me with that problem, but to resolve that, I didn't know what to tell him. Yeah, I don't know how to call. It says video
Victor
call.
Wants to know if this show is going to be live at 5 from now on. Well, it's 5:30, and no, it's. This show, so here's let me tell you about what's going on here at the Dirt Bike Test headquarters. We're in a transition phase. I know transitioning is a big thing these days, so we're doing it too. We had a lot of technical difficulties. In fact, we were violating a lot of terms of service of different platforms, so we had to kind of take a step back, look at our program, review. We decided we were going to get stronger for the second moto, or like we say, second season, so I just canceled myself, and we stepped right back into it. So we have some ideas. There's a new show. I got a new show coming on. It's going to be way more super tech focused, and then this we're going to do a little bit more guest focused, so interview platform. We'll still keep the tech there. We'll answer your questions as you bring it on. We'll drink the tequila you tell us to drink. By the way, Victor, thanks for the Ragosa. I forgot how much I like this. This is the Ragosa Ultra Premium Reposado, which Ultra Premium means...
I'm on a call with Jimmy right now, and I'm trying to get it to video.
Okay, you gotta. I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna cancel you here. You get your video thing figured out. Let me see if I can figure out how to turn.
I got Jenny out here now.
Mic standard.
Pin to the screen.
Video.
Okay, Jenny's gonna figure out how to turn the phone on.
Yeah.
Hi, Jenny.
I can turn the phone off. Good. How are you? You want me to turn this off?
No, I want to be.
No, I want you to turn. I want you to turn his camera on so we can see.
We're
where he's
live
at.
We're live right now.
Okay.
On Tech Talk Tacos Tuesday, episode number, I don't know which one it is.
It's just funny because you're not on. Are you on Face?
It won't go on FaceTime.
Oh, I got you. Okay, so join call. Got it.
Yeah, join call, Google Meetings, all that stuff.
We did that.
I wonder if I have to let you in. You got in somehow, and I'm pushing buttons to make things happen. Let's see. Only can unmute themselves. No, mute. No.
Your Gmail.
I could mute you. Here, I'm gonna mute you. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna mute you.
This
and
is
then
technical
what you
stuff.
do,
This is already.
Well, you have to go on Google Meet. You have to have Google Meet.
I don't have Google Meet.
Oh, you don't have meetings? I thought it was just in a web browser or something like that. He just clicked on a button in his email, and all of a sudden it was good. So you guys download that app, and then when I see your picture pop up on the screen, I'll bring you back into the show.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, so we are back from technical difficulties. We usually play commercials and do this, but we don't have any commercials because a lot of our commercials were getting us calling copyright violations for the music they were using. Amazing how this is. So get Crazy Nate in there. He'll work it out. Hey, Jim, I went to Crazy Nate's 84th birthday party motorcycle field meet a couple weeks ago, which was an awesome time. I was actually thinking about live streaming it, but if you think this show is bad, you should see that. And but we did. We had the weenie eating on motorcycles. We had slow race. We had the boot race. We had you had a balloon on your back fender, and we had bapping sticks. So you had to bap it with a stick. We had a balloon race where people had pins in their one hand, so they had to ride around and try to use a pin to pop the balloons. It was super good times. And man, yep, it was like a Dirt Diggers MC Field Meets. And by the way, one of my favorite times on a motorcycle hanging out, I was invited by the Dirt Diggers to come to the Dirt Diggers versus the Hilltoppers. So this is a thing that a lot of district clubs used to do back in the days. They would have field meets where they would challenge other clubs, and this has kind of gone away, which is kind of sad, but I think more clubs should do this because it's a lot of fun. But you could probably do it you want to, I don't know if you want to do it the day before a race, because some people do a little bit of drinking at those things, but you do these kind of like slow speed motorcycle skills contests. And so I went up there, grabbed a couple of my friends, said, hey, well, let's go do this. This will be good times. And so me and Nate teamed up on a lot of the events. I mean, we took a major portion of the trophies home. I loaned out a couple of my really good buddies to the Hilltoppers. They came close to beating the Dirt Diggers, but it didn't happen. So really, really good times. So that's the thing. I would I've been trying to get Crazy Nate back in here. I really have, but it's too hot and he doesn't travel that far these days. So we'll get him back in. I was, because I had all this stuff to actually live stream, because now I have a Starlink thing on my truck, and I was actually thinking about trying to sit down and do a show with him. But now I can do this show anywhere. I say that and I should just shoot myself, but I could almost do this show anywhere because of the ability to stream. But there's a lot of other technical things. If you saw the mess that we have in here with all these different cameras, and if you're watching this live right now, you know, I have the emergency camera for when the Wi-Fi thing starts dropping. We have the widescreen camera that has the chat in it. There's the Jimmy Cam, which you get to look a little too close at me. By the way, like my hat, this is a Climb hat. Climb, an incredible sponsor of this show and personal sponsor of mine. I've been wearing Climb since like 2005, I think. So I've been with the company for a long time. I wasn't with the company. They sent me some pants. I tested them. I said, these things are awesome. They would be way better if you did this, this, and this. And they said, yeah, we're trying to make our stuff better. They made that pant better, and I've been wearing it ever since. I've been wearing their stuff. Like when I ride for myself personally, that's the gear that I wear. Some of it lasts forever. Really good stuff. We have the call-in guest show, which is looks like a maze right now. If I had a guest, he would sit right there, but that's my awesome helmet with the Tacosaurus with Travis Pastrana getting drugged by his handlebar on the thing. And then if we had a Google meeting, you would see all that kind of stuff. You know, we've been doing this we had a lot of sponsors too back in the day. So that's our thanks for watching. We're not done yet. Marco's still trying to figure out his phone. I think he's gone. We've lost him. But we were going to talk about motorcycles at Mammoth. Marco might have been my cub reporter at the Mammoth Mountain Motocross. But I wasn't there this year. I was up in Washington. So let me see if we got any other questions here in the chat. I don't think so. I think we kind of did it. Yeah, Paul Neff was, winning the slow race. Correct. I tried to disqualify him. So, John Cobb, great stories, Jimmy. Usually check out a couple of minutes when I get the notifications. A great live stream. Thanks, John. John used to be one of my way higher up bosses back in the Dirt Rider days. He comes from the automotive side of things, and he would always try to tell me how to make a Dirt Rider a better magazine. And then I would tell him that you're going to kill my audience. But you know, now being older and smarter, I totally understand where he was coming from sometimes. But unlike the guy that John that replaced you, you didn't make me do the things that you thought I should do. You suggested them. And when the guy who came in later, who seemed to make, he made Jesse Ziegler leave, and that ruined Dirt Rider, because so Jesse Ziegler wrecked Dirt Rider. Then Sean Finley, my publisher, left, and then that meant that we didn't have everything went to hell. Emergency camera is better. The sounds way better and roomy. The emergency camera looks up my nostrils, I think. I don't think that it changes the sound. It shouldn't change the sound. Who knows? This whole show is a mess. But I'm working on Monkey Butt too. Thanks to the late great Rick Simon for doing that. Monkey Butt 1 right here. You can actually Monkey Butt. Get this. You can go to Super Hunkies, go to Rick Simon's Facebook page, and his daughter, I believe now, is kind of running that, and they have a lot of his old stuff that they are selling. So if you want to get that book, Monkey Butt will tell you the first half of the history of the motorcycle journalism world. I'm going to write the death of motorcycle journalism portion, which starts like pretty much right when I got involved. I was responsible for killing it. Jim doesn't really need to see the Jimmy Cam. So neither do I, actually. You know, the worst part of doing the show is I have to look at myself on the screen the whole time. So I really do feel for you guys out there in the chat worlds. But actually, pretty good audience tonight. I mean, in the hundreds of thousands. It's kind of amazing for just coming back out of the ethos, not announcing this more than 10 minutes before the show. So I'm gonna go ahead and do kind of like, I think Marco's gone. They must have run out of Bud Lights up there in Mammoth, and then they have to. I think they have to ride their donkeys down the hill to Bishop to go get more, so they can't be on the show. They're probably downloading apps, and then the wind up, the thing that the rat runs on, is probably bogged down from that. Thanks for the shout out. Enjoyed my time having great conversations with you. And John says, I was fortunate to have such a great bunch of people to work with in a day and day out basis, especially since I was, as you said, an automotive guy having a great night. And exactly what John just said right there. There was a time at Dirt Rider magazine where we had such a good team. It was, everybody had a place that they were an expert at, and none of us were well paid, but we loved what we were doing, and we would probably do it without getting paid. But it was one of these things where the company's trying to cut costs, and how do you cut costs? Well, get rid of an employee, or reduce staff, and it was crazy. Like the stuff that you end up having to deal with. It's not just produce a magazine. It's like working on all these budgets, which I wasn't that good at in general. As I've been told many times before, I'm adverse to making money, which isn't the best for a business plan. Hence how this whole operation works out here, like riding dirt bikes. And so it was such an interesting dynamic at the time that if I was slacking at my job, there was somebody else that would pick it up because they were much better at what I was slacking at. And then when they were screwing up on something that I knew I could do better, I would just go and handle it, do it better. And all you have to do is pull one part out of that equation, and then you watch it collapse in on itself. Because we're all running it like, you're running at 100%, and it's just like your race motor. You put low octane gas in it and it starts detonating, and that's all it takes is one thing. How is the staff reduction working out for you at Tech Talk Taco Tuesday? Well, George, funny you brought that up. Don't you notice how much better it is when I'm just running the show all by myself? George was on our last show, and then he has never come back since then. So I think they're only on YouTube Live right now. I didn't convert that one up to a regular thing, and I didn't upload it to the podcasting platforms, but trust me, I'm checking off things on the list. So hopefully it all gets better in the future. And I thought we'd make it till 7:00, which is good, because maybe some of the regulars might actually, pop up. So again, do that thing where you like and share, tell a friend of yours that they should watch this, because I will answer the tech questions. The next thing we're going to do, this show, I don't know what it's going to be called. I have no idea. We're coming up with some ideas, but I know I'm just going to make this show so tits. It's going to be really good. And that way, there's going to be a way where you can get when you're there and you have to send a question out to an internet forum, and you don't know who you're talking to, that somebody that has no accountability that's going to come back and say, well, you shouldn't be riding a KTM. You should buy a Yamaha. This program, by the way, brought to you by Yamaha. But those kind of answers where you say, no, I really want to know, is there a proper way to install a circlip? Which I will actually attempt to do on this show. I'll try to, with my needle nose pliers, insert a circlip without having it shoot out and either hit me in the eye or land inside the crankcase. I promise you these types of things. You might have to be a Patreon member to, get instant access or have your questions. Yep, there's some old slang. That's right, Jim. We know what we like. I always said, if there was any way I could have some of those, I'd be much more popular on YouTube. So, okay, I'm missing Mark Daniels, so here's a shout out to Mark, one of our favorite. Thanks a lot of our guys, Victor, Josh for answering questions, Jim for join in. My old big boss, John Cobb. Of course, Sean Elliott. Oh, wait. I knew there was something I wanted to do here. So the good thing is I can bring this back in. So here we go. Sean has a CRF 450, a 2000 and I got to go to the email again to see what it is. I think it's a 2000 and you're only getting the side of the picture. It's kind of like side boob. You want to see, I know, you want to see what's behind the cover, but you're only getting a piece of it. Let me see if I can, there's a way I can get this bike up on the screen. You know, Sean, frankly, these pictures are horrible because I never get the whole picture in there, and then I see someone's face. I'm not really, let's see if I can go to full screen. Let's see. Let's try this. This might help. Oh, boy. No, we don't want that. We need to go back to here. There we go. And I'm gonna do my best to get this into here. Give me a second. If you're listening to this, I'm actually trying to make a picture fit on the screen, and there's too many things. No, that's not the one I want. I need this one here. There we go. Okay, this bike right here. You're getting to see it on the screen right now. Nice Sierra 450X. Notice it has a stock muffler. That's a sign of a bike that's not been abused. There's some donkey's picture. If you get one of these stickers, make sure you make the guy pay for it. Okay? So this bike is for sale. I don't know what the cost is. He's got a comfy seat on this, by the way. That's a nice, if you have a big butt, that's a great place to put that seat. And it should show what year it is on the sticker there. If I can zoom in, I know there's a way I can zoom in here. Look at this. I'm such a pro with the computer. One-handed. 2000, and I can't see the other numbers. But yeah, this bike is for sale. So if you're interested in this bike, you send me an email. When I negotiate the proper commission for this motorcycle, I will put you in touch with the owner. Who's in the chat right now, probably trying to sell it to all you donkeys, because those are sought-after bikes right now, by the way. The Honda CRF 450X, the old version. That's the one with the carburetor, by the way. So, and I also have a 2004 Honda XR650 for sale. It's okay, Joshua Arne. We replace roofs when it's hot while drinking Modelo's and tequilas. Like I said, Victor is a popsicle salesman. It's a 2017, and that's good. It's on Facebook Marketplace. So check out Sean Elliott's profile on Facebook Marketplace if you want to buy that bike, or just send an email to jimmy@dirtbiketest.com. Hey, I had another good idea, too. While we're talking about this, if you want to reach out to me, Jimmy@dirtbiketest.com, and you want to be in charge of our amazing segment called Rooster Endo, I could use somebody that could actually compile the Rooster Endos for the Rooster Endo segment, because I want to bring that back. I really do enjoy telling you how shitty your motorcycle is and or how awesome it is, and then talk about the photography and all the other stuff. So yeah, if you're interested in helping out with Rooster Endo, we might have to give your email address, or maybe I can get you an email. We could actually make an email, and you could monitor it and handle it, and then get me a little report that I can prep and put it on this show when we do it. It'd be super cool. Other than that, a lot of good information on the show, a lot of great talking time. Can't believe that Marco ditched me. He was going to be my second guest. But it's been a long time, so now it's going to be a short time. Thanks. And Jim Clark has one last question. Would you ever put a steel sleeve in a Nicocel jug? It didn't work for me. So I've seen people do this, and I've heard that there can be some cooling issues with it, because the Nicocel is kind of like, it's the Nicocel coating right to aluminum, and the expansion is kind of consistent, where when you put a big steel sleeve inside of an aluminum cylinder, they heat up a little bit different. They don't heat up as quickly, and maybe the cooling isn't as good. We did, back in the day, we took a Honda CR 450X, and we made it into a 400 with a steel sleeve. and it was actually a really good bike. It was like we built a Honda 350 is the way I would like to call it. And it's amazing what the lack of power did for that bike in like a good way. And I remember that it definitely, it warmed, you had to be careful with it warming up, and we were told that was the case. So we never had any problems with it. So that's the thing. And Ron D. Moyer says, "What's up, Jimmy?" And I say, "What's up, Ron D. Moyer?" Good to have you in the chat as we're winding down this show. I know we usually start at 7. It was a last minute. Trevor had to go try to make District 37 worse, so we came up quick. So with that, everybody, I would like to say thanks for joining in. Thanks for watching this show. We will be back. We've got some cool stuff coming. Watch us on Facebook. Like, subscribe. Please like, subscribe on this. It will help us stay a little bit connected to you, and then have a better way for us to keep in touch with you in the future. I know Dirt Bike Test, when you go to our website, that's www.dirtbiketest.com. When you go to our website, you can sign up for a newsletter. Sign up there. That way we can keep in touch with you. We don't send out junk or spam. We just try to tell you what we're up to, and it's going to get better. It's going to get cool. Awesome to see everybody. And like I always like to say, we'll see you out in the trail. Cheers.